Town of Morristown do hereby state that it is 7:31 p.m. on Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023, and that this regular hybrid meeting is being held via webinar and in person. Both adequate and electronic notice of this meeting were provided according to law by written notice to the Morristown Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Town of Morristown, and to the Newark Star Ledger, both more than 48 hours ago. Notice was also posted in Town Hall and on the town website and filed with the Office of the Town Clerk of the Town of Morristown. I do further state that I shall enter into the minutes of this meeting a statement that such notice was furnished as particularly described by me in this public announcement. Take a roll call. Councilman Armington.
Here.
Councilwoman Cotton.
Present.
Councilman Foster.
Here.
Councilman Iannacone.
Here.
Councilman Silva.
Present.
Councilman Umbriac.
Here.
Council President Mayer.
Here.
Ms. President, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We're going to move into a moment of silence, but I do also want to remember, tomorrow is the one-year anniversary of the Uvalde mass murder, one of dozens and dozens and dozens that we've had in this country. So we have members of Moms Demand Action that are here to get a proclamation from the mayor later on. So I just want to mention that, and we'll move into a moment of silence,
Council
please.
President, can we keep Don Kissel and his family in thoughts and prayers? Don Kissel passed away last Thursday. For those who don't know him, long-term resident in Morristown. I served with him on the zoning board when I first got involved in Morristown for many years. He was on our water authority. You guys appointed him to the water authority. So he has moved on to the next stage, and we want to keep him in our thoughts and prayers.
Thank you. Thank you. If everybody can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty, before we get started, please be aware that public comment during the public hearing portions of this meeting will be held both in person and through the Zoom app. At the appropriate time, members of the public wishing to speak should indicate so by raising his or her hand in chambers or in the app. To comment via Zoom, click on the raise your hand icon at the bottom left side of your screen. You may also raise your hand by pressing *9 on your phone. When it is your turn, the moderator will send a signal through the app and ask that you unmute yourself so that you may be heard. To unmute yourself on the phone, press *6. Okay, Councilman Iannacone has asked that item number 2 of the consent agenda be pulled for further revisions. So I would ask for a motion to approve consent agenda items 1 and 3, please.
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda items 1 and 3.
I'll second.
Okay. Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cotton?
Yes.
Councilman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Councilman Umbriac?
Yes.
Council President Mayer?
Yes.
Okay.
Point of clarification, do we need a vote to pull an item, or one person can do it?
Well, because it was pulled ahead of time,
Okay.
I consider it removed from the agenda and was just making a public announcement.
Okay.
for the
I want
public.
to make it clear. All right, thank you.
If you want to vote. Okay, at this time, I will open the
Just wanna
floor
set
for a public hearing on any matter. For remote members of the public, please raise your hand in the Zoom app to indicate you'd like to speak. If you've joined the meeting via telephone, press *9. Kindly state your name and address and limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. Be advised that any derogatory comments targeting members of council and/or administration may be ruled out of order. No comments were received via email.
Thank you, Margot. Is there anybody in chambers? Please come on up. Ms. Miranda?
Hello, my name is Miranda Bramer. I am a resident at 24 Franklin Street.
Hi, my name is Sarah Anderson, and I'm a resident at 44 Ridgedale Avenue.
We'd like to speak about murals in the town.
Speak a little bit close to the microphone so we can
We
hear
would
you.
like to speak about murals in the town. Both of us worked on a mural actually in Town Hall for the Shade Tree Commission a few summers back to create the tree that is now on the wall when you enter the town. We would like to see more murals put around in the town, and for example, the mural that was just put up across from Mesler's next to Gold's, we think that's a great example of what we could see more of in the town. There's plenty of facades and empty buildings or empty walls that I've seen my whole life that, are not exactly the prettiest addition to the town. For example, under the train stations or the wall next to where you enter from headquarters plaza. We think it would be great if we could get the high school, art students involved more. It would be a great opportunity to get the kids more involved in the town and help them contribute something to their town and something they could put on their resume, something that would add to the beauty of Morristown, and something that could bring some really great attention to the town.
Just to add a little bit, I graduated from Morristown High School in 2019, and I was a part of the Art Honors Society, and the club involved with students does multiple murals around the school, and they would probably love the opportunity to move their work outside. And just to explain a little bit more about the shade tree mural that we did, while we were doing it, multiple people stopped us to be interested, to ask what it was about, to say this is a really great thing, to space in a meaningful and artistic way. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to come up? No? Jillian, is there anybody online?
We have somebody.
Oh. Come on up.
Hi, I'm Janet Hoke, and I live at 21 Altamont Court, which is almost next door here. And I have a question because, I've heard different angles of what's going on or not going on, I should say, up at the Morristown Green with all the closed stores. And I know that in one of the senior Q&As this winter, our mayor pointed out, because there was a question about this at that time, and he said, well, we all know that all those landowners are sitting on the property and they're using it as a tax deduction, so there's not too much we can do as a town. But then in the Morris Newsbee, just a week or two ago, I read that this council had a meeting earlier, a couple of weeks ago, and this subject came up. And now, apparently, the council has directed the planning board to study whether the town should pursue condemnation and redevelopment of those properties. So my question is twofold. What have you instructed the planning board to do? How long might this take? Would it take tax money to do it? And what are the expected outcomes? Is it not true any longer that these landlords or these owners are can hold to this excuse that they need to keep the properties for tax deduction purposes? Or does the town of Morristown actually have a say in this? And that's basically my question.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is everybody done in chambers? Okay, Jillian, you want to go online?
I have one public speaker online, Orville. If you would please unmute yourself and then state your name and address for the record, please. Orville, if you can hear me, please unmute yourself and make your public comment.
Thank you. Yes,
We can hear you.
Pardon?
I said, hi, we can hear you.
Yes, thank you, Julian, thank you for the email. I'll send another one to follow up, but it's going to be mainly regarding last 2 weeks ago when we talked about in the budget meeting regarding recyclable. There's a solution. I had a diagram, but I'm just traveling too much right now, but I'll send it by email. And also, again, the social justice. And what I touched base on the email with the EEOC, or the Equal Opportunity, not only should it be done including the budget for the police officers that had it done, but also for the new ones, and a couple of them that may have passed the class but failed to remember or failed to implement what they was taught at the course, and the police chief and I will handle that. At least I will handle that through the police chief. But it's important for the continuous training of what to say and what not to say to citizens, and it's important, no matter ideology or professional, you must adhere. And it's very important, Julian, because of that projectilize my safety. So again, I will send the email and put the illustration of the recyclables and why it's so high and what the solution is. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that it?
I don't see any other hands raised for public comment.
I'm going to close public comments now. Council response to public comments?
You know, it's interesting, on the mural issue, about 6 years ago, there was a group put together, and I think the mayor put the group together, between Morris Arts and also, who was a leader in that was Linda Stamato at the time.
Yeah.
So it was Morris Arts and it was Linda Stamato. And they were taking a look at just the topic that the two young ladies actually brought up, which was it's a good idea. And it's probably something we should probably revisit, but I think the idea that, I think that originally was in place with coupling with Morris Arts on it and coupling maybe with some of the other groups in town is a great idea.
Well, you remember, I think it was last year, Stefan wanted to put a subcommittee together to discuss it, but you asked it for also to be on the agenda tonight, and then we didn't get it on time. So do you have anything you want to add?
No, I'm actually meeting with a member of Morris Arts tomorrow about it. I've been impressed with the program that they have in Jersey City, and which also partners with their community arts group, and I'm communicating with the administration about it as well. So.
And I was at an event recently at End Development that was art, and they also brought up to me that there is some grants money that could be had, and there's a group of people. So I will talk to Miranda and see what she's interested in doing, and talk to you, and maybe see what we could get together so we can present it to the administration.
And a lot of people don't know, but a great mural in town is the one that's on the back of Neighborhood House. You don't
It's
see
beautiful.
it. You don't see it, but it's a beautiful
Yeah.
mural. And it's just a good example of what might be able to get done.
I agree. I totally think that's a wonderful idea, because there are these walls that they look pretty bad, and something that beautiful would really enhance our town. So,
Regarding the woman's,
The North Park Place, I think
I'll
it'd be better
answer
if the administration would
I'll
answer
answer
that
it.
for us.
So at the
Thank you.
last Q&A for the seniors, it was discussed that it's empty. It's owned by one person, not a bunch of people own the properties. It's owned by one person, a guy's named Dave Brown. Has owned the properties for, I don't know how many decades, and they've been vacant for a long time. There is a contract on the whole block by a developer called Accurate Developers. I don't know what the price is, but it's hefty. They're coming in, from what I understand, shortly with a proposal for 2 to 10, which is not North Park, but across the street from North Park, 2 to 10 Washington. That's also included in the contract. The administration's asked the council to push ahead with the study of condemnation to try to move the project forward. If it stays stalled, it gives the tools for the town has the tools through condemnation to then go out and seek a developer and to get that filled and developed. It's been vacant long before I took office, and we're all tired of it. But it is very difficult when a person pays their taxes to just take their property. You can't take the property. And legally, I'm not a lawyer, but legally they can get lawyers and hold this up in court for many, many, many years on condemnation. So we're just trying to work with the property owner, the signed contractee, and the council in trying to move this forward. It is a very, very difficult thing to have happen. However, I do think it's moving in a positive way. I'd like to see something happen up there shorter than longer, and I think it will. And I think the council did the right thing by asking the planning board to study the area in need of redevelopment for that North Park Place. And let's keep our fingers crossed and hopefully it'll move forward, because we know that there are people that want to go to that spot, but we can't control it as the government on private property. There's tools that we're going to use, and that's what we're doing as far as what we legally can do, as the lawyer's shaking his head, what legally we can do. But it is something that we all talk about, we all think about, and it's been vacant for a long time, and COVID clearly didn't help it. And here's one thing I did find out, just for the record. I was told that Century 21 at the time had a 65-year lease on it before COVID hit. Now, I haven't heard about anybody getting a 65-year lease on anything, but maybe back in the day, department stores had long leases, but that obviously went away. Century 21, I do believe, opened a couple of places in the properties they owned. They didn't own that property. They just leased it. So I don't know what the future holds for Century 21 building. I'm optimistic that something great's going to go there on that whole block. However, I don't think you're going to see another Macy's or another Epstein's or another, think of a store. Well, we know Bed Bath & Beyond's not coming.
So sad.
So you know, those days of the big box stores is more difficult now than ever, as you see now malls closing and changing hands and towns struggling. I just want to give a shout out to the mayor of Westfield, who was in town last week and toured our town. She put a beautiful post up on her Facebook, Mayor Shelley Brindle. They're going through the same stuff we're going through and trying to figure out how they can redevelop their downtown as they struggle. And using us as an example of the success we've had for the last dozen years. So we appreciate your question. I appreciate when you come to the meetings, and I look forward to you at the next senior Q&A.
So, and just to finish, when we send something to the planning board, there's not a charge. The planning board's a volunteer board, and they work in conjunction with the town. So when we ask them to look into something, it's part of their duties as a volunteer, so it doesn't cost the town. That's not a cost to the town. So anybody else have anything? Okay, we will close the public response, council response to public. Mayor Doherty, would you like to present the proclamation for Moms Demand Action? We're Orange.
You always got to check with the lawyer to make sure I didn't leave something. Like, the judge's like, yeah, that's right, check with the lawyer. Do you want to say a few words before I go up?
Sure. I want to thank Maureen and Thea, who came out today, and Leslie is behind there. I just saw Leslie. Hi, Leslie. For coming out tonight. So just so everybody knows, Wear Orange Day is June 2nd. It's throughout the country. It is to bring recognition to people who have been affected by gun violence. All gun violence is obviously preventable, I feel. We didn't have proliferation of assault weapons in the hands of people who shouldn't have it. But it brings recognition because it is the color that hunters wear to not get shot. So that is what we recognize orange for. It was also Hydea Pendleton, her favorite color, and her friends honored her. She was a student in Chicago who walked in the Obama's second inauguration parade and was shot 2 weeks later and killed in Chicago in another act of senseless gun violence. So, the mayor's going to read this proclamation, and in there it says 17,000 people are killed a year. We're at 14,000 already. It's May. It's May. We've had more mass shootings than there are days in the year. So it's really something that hopefully everybody can get behind. I hope the press runs with this. Recently, in the past week, the government overturned, New Jersey has very good gun laws. The government overturned one of our laws saying that guns can be now put in carried in places that we don't really want them in, bars, restaurants, et cetera, stores. It's my understanding, but I'm going to check with the police chief and the public safety director, that if businesses post a note, something like this, saying that they don't want firearms in their business, that is enough. I don't know if that's the case. I know there's legal looking into it, so I just wanted to mention that, people are moving ahead with trying to protect each other and their businesses and their homes, and There's synagogues and churches and mosques, and hopefully we can all get behind this. But again, I'll check with legal before we do anything. And after the mayor reads a proclamation, Moms Demand Action has asked that all of the council, the mayor, and the recipients of the proclamation come together for a photo because we're publishing them throughout the country. So we're just going to hold up after he's done. Thank you.
Where do you want us?
Well, come on up.
Come on. Mayor's not going to bite. Come on up.
Maybe she could sit on the first row.
I was going to let you speak.
She's running away.
I was. Thank you. We seem to be doing this year after year. Doesn't seem to get much better, does it? We do. That's what we have to do every day. So let me read this into the record and then present you with this proclamation. Whereas the first Friday in June is recognized as the National Gun Violence Awareness Day to honor and remember all victims and survivors of gun violence and to declare what we as a country must do more to reduce gun violence. Every day, more than 120 Americans are killed by gun violence, alongside more than 200 who are shot and wounded. On an average, there are more than 17,000 gun homicides each year. Americans are 26 times more likely to die by homicide than people with higher income countries, and New Jersey averages 475 gun deaths every year, with a rate of 54.8 deaths per 100,000 people. Gun homicides and assaults are concentrated in cities, with more than half of all firearm-related gun deaths in the nation occurring in 127 cities. Gun violence prevention is more important than ever as COVID-19 pandemic continues to exacerbate gun violence. After more than a year of increased gun sales, increased calls to suicide and domestic violent hotline, and an increase in city gun violence. Support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens go hand in hand with keeping guns away from people with dangerous histories. Mayors and law enforcement officers know their communities best and are most familiar with local criminal activity and how to address it, and are best positioned to understand how to keep their citizens safe. In January 2013, Hadia Pendleton was tragically shot and killed at 15. And on June 4th, 2021, to recognize her 24th birthday of Hadia Pendleton, born June 2nd, 1997, people across the United States will recognize National Gun Violence Awareness Day and wear orange in tribute to Hadia Pendleton, victim of gun violence, and the loved ones of those victims. The idea was inspired by a group of Hadia's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange. They chose this color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods, and orange is a color that symbolizes the value of human life. Whereas anyone can join the campaign by pledging to wear orange on June 2nd, 2023, the first Friday of June. By wearing orange, Americans will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives of gun violence victims and survivors. Now therefore, I, Timothy P. Doherty, Mayor of the Town of Morristown, do hereby proclaim Friday, June 2nd, 2023, as National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the Town of Morristown, and I encourage Morristown residents to participate in promoting greater awareness about gun violence and gun safety. On behalf of the administration and the council and the citizens of Morristown, thank you for all that you guys do.
Thank you. Can I do this? Okay. Oops. So on behalf of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense and Every Town for Gun Safety, I want to thank the Morristown Town Council and Mayor Doherty for issuing this proclamation marking Gun Violence Awareness Day. We moms are over 10 million nonpartisan volunteers working for common sense gun safety in this country. Additionally, gun violence has become the leading cause of death for children in the United States. Something has to change. Thank you.
Thank you. you guys come up here and we're going to take a group picture? Council?
Where do you want us?
Let's go that way.
Go around.
I thought maybe we were going to come in the middle.
Give me a picture. No, next time. Maybe there won't be an next. That'd be nice if there wasn't next time.
Yeah, move forward and then we'll have.
Shorter in front.
Sure, that's.
You're in the back then.
I keep
I'm always in the back.
Obviously, you're in the back.
I keep shrinking. I don't know where I am.
One day.
Probably shorter than you did.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marie. Thanks, Leslie. Good seeing you. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
There. I'm going to continue, Council President. Saturday, May 13th, Moms Demand Action held and hosted a Mother's Day Action Rally at Town Hall to address national gun violence here in front of our Town Hall building. On Saturday, May 20th, the Morristown Environmental Commission and Morristown Cleanup Communities hosted the annual spring cleanup. I want to recognize Nathan and Councilwoman Nathan Umbriak, Councilman, Council Vice President, and Toshiba Foster, our council at large, for participating, and I would like Councilman Umbriak just say a few words on an amazing thing that happened.
It was great. If you remember, the weather was quite rainy on Saturday, but we had a record turnout. We had approximately 212 people show up for the townwide cleanup. So it continues to get bigger and bigger every year. We had a large contingency from Central Biblical. Thank you, Pastor Silva. We also had a large contingency from Frelinghuysen Middle School, amongst many other groups that came out and did the cleanup. It was great. It's, we're moving in the right direction in terms of, beautifying Morristown and cleaning up garbage. And so it's certainly a step in the right direction, and we look forward to the next cleanup.
Yeah, thank you, Councilman. I mean, anytime you can get over 200 people out for a cleanup Saturday, it is really fantastic.
Yes. Yep.
And so thank you to our Environmental Commission Chairwoman, Maureen Dedman, and her team, and our council members that showed up. And that's a great thing for Morristown to see that many volunteers out there. Sunday, May 28th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., mark your calendars. Rotary Original Music Festival. The original music festival will be at Ledgerwood Park and Gazebo. Day of music, games, and activity. That's Sunday, 11 to 2. Monday, Town Hall is closed in observance of Memorial Day. 10 a.m. service begins at Township Municipal Building, 50 Woodland Avenue, followed by 11 p.m. services on the green. If rain, all services will be held at the Morris Township Municipal Building. Saturday, June 3rd and 4th, 10 to 5. 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Morris County Art Association Annual Art Show is at Vale Mansion Lawn. If you've never attended that, it's pretty cool. So I suggest you go take a nice stroll outside and check out the art show. On Wednesday, the 7th, there'll be a grand opening of TB Yoga House, 12 Community Place. That should be exciting. And Saturday, the 10th, would you like to make an announcement, Councilwoman?
Thank you, Mayor. Saturday, June 10th, our Youth for Your Future will be hosted. We're hosting our annual youth rally. It's hard to believe that this is our 14th year. We took about 2.5 years off due to COVID, but this is actually like our first full year back, so we're looking forward to hosting youth in our community. We have some organizations that are going to be participating. We have Hope One, we have NAACP, we have New Bridge Services, TLC, Lost Coalition, a couple others, Nourish New Jersey. So we're looking forward to hosting the kids in the park. Thank you again, after the event, but Councilman Umbriak was able to get us a nice food donation from Wegmans. So they're sponsoring the hamburgers and hot dogs and buns for the event. The mayor always supports our bounty houses for the children, so we're really looking forward to doing something really nice in the park for the kids. So I asked our clerk Margot to send all the council members the flyers for distribution throughout the community. And we'll do our part to try to get as many kids and families there. And I know I always reach out to you for the Spanish interpretation, so thank you for that. We had a couple of hiccups with the flyer, and you translated it for us. So thank you, Pastor/Councilman, and I know you'll probably get us some empanadas or something donated so that we can have representation of food for the Hispanic community. So thank you for everybody who helps us put that event together. I mean, we're down to about 2 members, myself and Sharon. So it's going to be a huge daunting task, but we look forward to hosting the kids and families in the community. So thanks to everybody who helps make it a huge success.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Lifeguards are needed. Burnham and Caldwell pools, ages 15 and up to $17 an hour, starting. Visit townofmorristown.org/rec or call for an application at 973-292-6717. It's a great summer job. If you know any kids in the neighborhood looking for summer jobs, it's a great summer job. Have them again, visit townofmorristown.org/rec or call 973-292-6717. Really quick, not too quick, I don't know if you can see it.
That's number 3.
This is the Vote for Morristown's new flag. Vote for one of the 3 finalists through June 2nd. Visit the town website at townofmorristown.org, Facebook, or Instagram for your voting link. Flyers, including QR code, are also up around Town Hall. So again, this is it. So check out the Facebook, check out Instagram, check out townofmorristown.org, and cast your vote.
And just to add to that, there is an explanation that goes along with each of the flags explaining what they mean and how they
Well,
came
I wasn't
about.
finished yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Because everybody keeps asking me.
I appreciate that, because you can view each one has an overview. Okay, all right, well, now that
One's an overview.
she finished it, so that's done. All right, so make sure you check that out, and vote. And vote, appreciate it. The last thing I'm going to just spend a minute on is Don Kissel. Don, George Bolkar, Laura Leach, Phyllis Vale, I know I'm going to miss somebody, so I better stop there because I'm going to miss somebody. They were very instrumental in a decade of me understanding how zoning works and how the town operated, and Don Kissel and George Bolkar were 2 great men of Morristown who really gave their time, their effort, and Don is going to be really missed. Now, I'm just going to say, if you don't know who Don Kissel was, because he passed on, you see him every once in a while driving around in a convertible with a beanie thing on top that used to spin. And he was the first person I know that visited Belize way back in the day. He was an accomplished in a lot of different things, and he will be really missed. He loved the Water Authority. He loved the zoning board. He loved Morristown. His wife, Claire, is a wonderful person. His family. It's a personal loss because I knew him for so long, and he was instrumental in myself learning a lot of different things. As I learned at a younger age, all the stuff that goes on with zoning boards and planning, and that's probably where I fell in love with this town and what goes on here. So, Don, as I say, wish you well in your next journey in life, wherever that takes you when you go from here. Thank you, Council President. I really appreciate that.
I didn't mean to interrupt you before, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So moving on to other presentations. Jillian, is there a presentation for the affordable housing, or is that just?
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, so I want to invite our representatives from CGP&H, which is the town's administrative agent, to come to the front. They're going to discuss the affordability assistance program and the home improvement programs that the town is initiating. These programs are part of our affordable housing plan that was adopted as part of our sort of fair share agreement, and we're very excited to finally kick this process off. So I will let them introduce themselves and then go over the program.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dan Levin. I'm a senior planner at CGP&H, and this is Migdalia Guzman. She is the housing rehabilitation specialist, also at CGP&H. As mentioned, we are the town's affordable housing administrative agent. I am going to take a few minutes to talk about the affordability assistance program and the manual that you have on the agenda tonight, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mickey, and she is going to walk everyone through the rehabilitation program. So what is affordability assistance? Affordability assistance is part of the spending plan. It's a requirement that the town needs to spend 30% of the trust fund dollars, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund dollars that it takes in, to spend that as affordability assistance, basically making it easier for people that are living in deed-restricted affordable housing units to pay their rent or down payment assistance, a variety of other different types of programs. Morristown has expensed over $450,000 on eligible projects against this obligation. So what's remaining is the $60,000 budget for the 1 month's rent program that is part of the manual that's on the agenda for tonight. That money will go to rental units for deed-restricted affordable housing units only, and people moving into or living in deed-restricted affordable housing units. So this does not go to people that may otherwise income qualify in what's considered market rate affordable housing. The rules on this are quite clear. Under the state, they can only go to deed-restricted affordable housing units and income-qualified households living in those units. This money will be paid to the landlords as a credit against their monthly rent. Are there any questions about the affordability assistance program?
So this 60,000 is for rent to help?
The budget, the entire budget is for 1 month of rent for any one applicant. So, for example, the Maxon Morris is currently leasing up its family affordable housing units. So, in theory, if we can get the program and everything moving on time, individuals moving into those units could receive 1 month of free rent provided by the Morristown Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Who reviews an application?
We do.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
So if anybody needs, they have to apply with you?
The process is, at the moment, so in the manual, there's 2 streams of the process. The first process is you're renting a unit that's administered by CGP&H, at which point, you would have your application, you'd go through your pre-application with us, you'd eventually become income qualified, and it's effectively a rubber stamp because we've done the income certification. If you're somebody who's living in a unit that is not administered by CGP&H. We're not the only AA that's working in the town. Piazza, for example, is another AA that works in the town. What we would do is we would send them a letter saying, if you have any tenants that have recently income qualified for these units, you can send us their information. We would then, again, do the application. We'd review that, and if they're eligible, provide the award.
I'm glad you're doing this because we're going to learn a lot tonight, I think.
Yeah.
But how is this kind of digested and kind of put out there for the public to know? We're going to find out tonight, so just keep that in mind as you go through your presentation. Don't answer now.
Sure.
It's one of those things where we should read on, listen to you, then ask maybe at the end.
Okay. Well, that's kind of all I have for the affordability assistance program. It's really a very small component of the town's overall affordable housing program and obligation, et cetera. And as mentioned, so much money has already been spent on eligible projects, mostly the contributions to the Homeless Solutions developments over the years, that it's in a really good place. Most towns do not have anywhere near 30% of their funds spent. So Morristown's in a really good place. But I think the star of the show this evening is really the housing rehabilitation program. With that, I'll turn it over to Mickey.
Well, I have one question. Aside from the income requirements, what would be criteria for someone to just have a month of rent paid from the trust?
That's it. So if they're living in deed-restricted affordable housing and they're income eligible, and their income, the criteria is their income certification can't be more than 6 months old. Then they're eligible, because that's the rules under, I think, it's UHAC, the Uniform Housing Affordability Controls. That requires that the certification can't be older than 6 months.
So besides this rent program, tonight what we have in the agenda is the manual for policies and procedures.
Yes.
So may I ask a question now, or we wait until we have the resolution? On regard to the manual.
The reason why I didn't ask my question, because let's hear what they say, because I have a lot of questions too.
The program is the manual. The manual is the effectuating document that allows us as the administrative agent to process applications, to work with the town to get awards, to have the town, process resolutions and work through the CFO to issue purchase orders and things like that. So the manual, once the manual is approved, I can go back to our team and say, great, let people know as they apply through our system that this is available.
Are the guidelines of the manual coming from the state? So how do you elaborate the manual? Where did you gather the information and the guidelines to craft it?
Okay, great question. So the Affordability Assistance Manual, each administrative agent has flexibility in crafting a affordability assistance manual. There's general rules on what you can spend the money on, but it's not exclusive. So the rules say that you can spend it on these types of different things, but it must be for people living in deed-restricted affordable housing. But the mechanisms by which an administrative agent goes about doing that work, there's no state rules that say you have to have this step-by-step process. That doesn't exist. So we have, through years and years and years of administering programs like this, we've been around since 1993, that we've gained that expertise, and this is how we run this program across towns all over the state with a pretty high level of efficiency.
I think that I would have more questions about the specifics in the manual. Since we receive agendas on Friday, I don't think anybody has time to study the manual in depth, because this is a very important topic. So my other question is that manual going to be available in Spanish?
Yes.
So where we can access it in Spanish?
We'd have to create it. The manual is a document that we use to administer the program. So any individual who rents a unit, so let's say a housing unit gets built tomorrow and somebody who is not a native English speaker applies, we're still going to inform them upon their accepted application. So once they've been successfully income qualified, because a lot of people apply, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're income qualified. Once they're approved to say, you make the income that this unit says you're eligible to make, they're informed at that time, you are also eligible, this is how we do it for units that we administer, you're eligible for 1 month's rent. You have the application, it gets signed, it gets sent, it gets processed, it gets paid out very quickly, relatively quickly dealing with government processes, but that's how we do it. So it doesn't matter whether or not, at least for the units that we administer, whether or not someone is a native English speaker, the manual is not how they get informed that this money is available, it's how we run the program and how we explain to municipalities how the program will work.
If I can jump in a little bit to offer clarity of my answer. So, yes, the manuals that are before you for consideration is really the legal construct within how the program is administered by the administrative agent. But all of the program information, all of the information that's disseminated about the qualifications of the program are available in Spanish, and there are Spanish speakers at CGP&H that will be able to answer the phone and interact with anyone who's not a native English speaker to explain what the program is, what the qualifications are, all the application documents, any document that an applicant would need to complete or review would be available in both English and Spanish. That was one of the first things that I asked CGP&H when we were doing this program, because we know that not all of our residents are native English speakers.
Mickey, I turn it over to you.
So, good evening, Mayor, council members, and ladies and gentlemen. So my name is Mickey Guzman. Actually, Migdalia Guzman is actually my full legal name. I'm called Mickey by everyone, so please. I am a housing rehabilitation specialist with CGP&H, so I directly administer all the housing rehab applications for the town of Morristown. This is going to be my program, so I'm kicking it off for you. I will tell you that I am one of the Spanish-speaking employees, so I am available. There are 2 others in our department, so if I'm not around, somebody else will absolutely be able to do that. And I just kind of grabbed it real quick. The manual, as we said, is more of our procedures and as to how to administer the program, but the handouts that would be going to any applicants and the flyers that we have available in English and Spanish. I think they sent these to you, correct?
I have them.
Okay, good. So thank you for this opportunity to share regarding the program that can provide up to $24,000 to both low and moderate income eligible owner-occupied and renter-occupied dwellings. So anybody who applies can receive up to the $24,000 for repairs on their home. The funds are used to replace or repair any substandard major housing systems, such as a roof, electrical systems, foundation, windows, just to name a few things. There's no cost to apply to any of this. Doesn't affect anyone's credit score. We don't even check that. Funds are provided as a no-interest, 10-year forgivable loan. So as long as the homeowner stays within the home and keeps title to the property for 10 years, the loan is then completely forgiven. If they were to sell the property, then they would have to pay back the entire amount that was used on their property. And there are actually exceptions to that based on who inherits the home and things like that. There is no monthly payment for the loan at any point. And a professional inspector employed by CGP&H will oversee the entire program, the entire case on that applicant going forward. So again, we're in low to moderate income household, so that's basically the very first requirement that is needed. And there are state income limits that are produced. So as of right now, we are still using the 2022 income limits. The new 2023 income limits will be coming out any day. We were hoping for it to be tonight so that we could give you updated information, but unfortunately, they're not quite ready. All financial information that's provided to us is kept confidential and secure. It goes from our company, and then eventually it gets transferred back to the municipality for safekeeping. With the housing rehab, there are additional requirements in addition to the income, and that would be you have to have a current homeowner's insurance policy to make sure that if the house were to burn down, that the municipality's funds would be covered on something like that. Property taxes, any municipal utilities, mortgage, all need to be paid current, and you must also have enough equity in the home to cover whatever funds are used on the home. The application process is very similar to what Dan said. You need to go on and fill out a pre-application online. We then send the homeowner a full application package to their home, and that's all done manually, and they submit that with documents to prove all of the questions that are on the application. The funds are provided on a first-come, first-served basis until all the funds are expended. And the program's funding source will be from municipal housing trust funds, just as Dan explained on his end. Once a homeowner's eligibility has been established, then the inspector comes out to the home, they do a full comprehensive inspection, write up a full scope of work, what we call a work write-up, and from there, that's discussed with the homeowner, and then we send that out to pre-approved contractors that have been vetted by our company. The municipality would be able to approve those through municipal resolutions and so forth. So the entire process is administered by us. Sorry. Generally, the lowest responsible bid from a qualified contractor will be chosen. There are very specific requirements for those contractors once they submit a bid, so there are material specifications, so they can't use substandard windows on a property. Those kind of things are things that the homeowners actually ask about, so all of that is taken care of. And then the contractor will get their permits, will conduct everything from the beginning of construction straight through with our inspectors doing periodic checks and inspections to make sure that everything is done as it should be done. This program is going to be offering an evening Zoom presentation to the homeowners that are interested, and as soon as we get the new income limits and we choose a date, then that will also be offered. I know as far as marketing, this is all going to be put up on your website. We're going to flood everything we possibly can with information on the program for your homeowners and such. We also want to encourage anyone who knows any local contractors to apply and be a part of the program, because we're always looking for new contractors to be able to do new work. For anybody who's here today, I will be in the lobby for a little while after this to answer any other specific questions if anybody has anything, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
So did you say that people get to apply once in 10 years, or the loan is forgiven after 10 years? So how often are they allowed to apply?
So there's a limit of $24,000 per property.
Per property, okay.
Yeah. So that's it, yeah. Now, typically, they don't apply, so the program is made to bring the home up to code, compliancy, and for any safety and health issues for the homeowners. So that typically means that if they need a roof and they need windows, they always find something else. It's typically spent. The inspector will find the uses for that money based on the program requirements and so forth.
Is there an allocation out of the Housing Trust Fund? Is it a certain amount of money that's allocated to this program? For the first program that was described, in the rent assistance, it was an allocation of $60,000. How much is actually allocated for this program?
I'd have to check the spending plan, but it's over $1 million.
It's over $1 million.
Yeah.
And it can only be used for health and safety improvements?
So
Or code and safety, I should say.
So the way that the rehab program is stipulated, so that it has to bring a unit fully up to code. So it's the health and safety.
But if it's more than $24,000?
It's not for cosmetic.
Yeah.
Correct, but what if it's to bring it, it doesn't have to be brought up to total code with $24,000, it just has to get them closer to code, I would imagine.
Whatever is done, if it's a code issue, so there has to be one substandard major issue, and those are the things that I kind of specified with the roof and so forth. Electrical, a lot of times electrical panels have to be done. The limit is $24,000, so I know where you're going with this. There have been times where the scope of work ends up being over the $24,000.
Right.
Right, that happens. Usually at that point, there are county programs that can be used in conjunction with the municipal programs. Sometimes a homeowner can contribute part of that cost. There are ways to kind of work around that.
And are the contractors, are they certified so they're pre-certified, so they get a list of contractors, and we give assistance to them in selecting a contractor? Because God forbid they get hooked up with a crooked contractor.
Okay, so we have a list of contractors, and when it gets to that point of, once the work write-up, the scope of work is written up by the inspector, we send to the homeowner that work write-up, that scope of work report that's done. They also get a list of the approved contractors in the area. So yes, the contractors are presented to the homeowners, and they're chosen with the homeowners.
So where I agree with Pastor Silver, because I've printed it, I read it, underlined it, and I still have a lot of questions. On the rent support, I have no issue with that at all. That was pretty clear and understandable. This one is somewhat, a little bit more complicated, but the complicating factor for me, and I'd like to just maybe talk to you offline before we approve the resolution, was actually how it works with landlords. Okay? And because, again, it's, how it relates to, because what I read in here, it's a certain amount per unit. And so my concern was that, are you awarding landlords who did not improve their property for years?
That is an exceptional question. I've run our rental rehabilitation program in other parts of the state, and that is in part why the terms are what they are within the rehabilitation program. It's to avoid that situation that you're speaking of. What we typically find for rental rehab is that landlords, we offer this program, landlords don't take it up because the terms are not as favorable as they would like, but also because they have to have a 10-year deed restriction on the unit in addition to the lien on the property, which in addition comes with us, CGP&H, being the administrative agent for those rental units. So they can no longer just rent those units to anyone they want to. They now have to work off our wait list, and they have to be income qualified, and we have to choose the income level that they're going to be receiving. So most landlords who have a 5-year horizon on their property, they're like, I don't want any part of this. They don't take it up. But we have to offer it because that's part of the settlement agreement with Fair Share Housing, that you offer a rehabilitation program that's available for owner-occupiers as well as landlords.
Excellent answer.
Thank you.
Yeah, but again, the confusing part for me also was...
It's not confusing to me, Bob.
Okay, but it is for me, and that's, you spent more time with this than I did, that's why. But it is the whole question of, it's the income of the tenant, not the income of the landlord.
Yes.
It is the income
I find interesting.
It is the income of the tenant, yes. So the tenant has to income qualify, which is another hurdle in and
Landlord
of
could have
itself.
plenty of money to do the improvements, yet they can access the money via this program.
And with the tenant income qualified, that also means that the rent that they're able to collect is somewhat limited. So, there's a lot of
Right, it should...
things that really constrict the ability of
And that's what I want to
that
understand better.
landlord that, I'm sure we can all think of examples, really this wouldn't be the appropriate program for them.
Right. Right, and if you're getting market rent, so I'm just throwing numbers out here, but if off the top of my head, you're getting, let's say $2,000 a month for a one-bedroom unit, for example, but the maximum you can rent that unit out for under the deed restrictions, under the affordability requirements are $1,500 a month, and you still have to put in 30% of the repairs up front in cash. What you're going to be losing every single month, the delta is way too high. You'd never do it. So what we've seen for the rental component of the rehabilitation program, it's great for owner-occupiers who are renting out another, like if they've got a duplex or something like that.
But another question on that too would be, how does this interplay with rent control? I.e., does that capital then get added into the capital escalation factor that goes into the rent control calculations? Because you do get a certain percentage if you do a certain amount of improvements, you can get a percentage of that as part of your rent increase. So it's the question, these are...
They wouldn't have a market rent.
What I'd like to do is just get a better understanding.
Understood, but my initial reaction, though, is even if they would theoretically get credit against the capital improvement, you'd still end up having the deed restriction and the income limitations that go along with the grant program. So that would offset any benefit you would get from the credit from the capital.
How much money are we allocating for this program through the Affordable Trust Fund in our budget?
I know that there's at least initial $600,000 allocated. And that was one of my conversations with them, was kind of how is this typically spent? And it usually takes a while to start spending those programs down, but those money's down because of the way that the process goes and the application process and the vetting process, and having to evaluate the the projects and things like that, it will take some time to get spent down. But we
That's
can-
right, it was
if
600K,
we have
yeah.
the great problem of having a flood of applications and everybody's qualified and everybody has a perfect project and we spend the money down faster than we think, that we can revisit, what additional monies may be allocated.
So what's your idea of like, how long do you think it would take for 600,000 to be
I'm going to punt
allocated
that
out?
to you because we had that conversation.
Yeah, and you're right, I think it was 600,000, like 650, I think was what we were talking
Something
about
like
for the
that.
first allocation.
How
Yeah,
much?
I think it was like 650,000 or something like that. I'd have to check
Around
the
that.
exact numbers. I think that's more accurate than the million I gave before.
Yeah.
How long? There's an expression I like to use, how long is a piece of string? It depends on where you cut it. It just depends on take-up. If we advertise the program and we get no applications, that could last forever. If everyone applies and everyone's approved, it could go very quickly. It just depends on how much, there are people who apply who are eligible, and, our team's going to process. I mean, what's the town we do the most work in? How many rehabs do we process a year, you think?
Use the mic just because we have people at home.
Yeah.
Okay, give me a second.
Not to put you on the spot.
Probably, in a year, anywhere from 10 to, I'm trying to think of Woodbridge, 10 to
So-
12 that are actually eligible.
Applications?
Yep.
Okay.
So that would be
that's
like 200, 250 a year.
Yeah, 250, okay.
Yeah.
So it could be a couple years before we have to
I will say, my recollection of when we discussed this was it would be at least 3 or 4 years, on a good day, or like if it goes as well as expected.
The
But it could be
650
longer
is
than
for the rental help and for the rehabilitation?
No, that's just the rehab.
No, that's
That's just the rehabilitation. So
rehab.
what's the rental help?
60.
60, okay. So that could go pretty fast, depending on how many applications come in. And
It
is there a
depends.
cap, like they can
There's-
apply once a year, or one time that they could apply for 1 month's rent and that's it? It's not
I think that's a
yearly?
one-time thing.
One time?
So they're two different programs. So for rehabilitation, in theory, as long as you're if you're not income eligible, but then you become income eligible, you could apply again, let's say, but
So as I said, the
Yeah.
total is that $24,000 per property for that 10-year period. Let's just say, for instance, someone applies and they only have $8,000 worth of repairs at a certain, at the first time that they apply. Yes, they're going to get that lien on their property for that $8,000 that was spent. And let's say they get a leak on their roof in 2 years. It's up to the municipality to definitely make that decision, but yes, they could still get $16,000 worth of help. And so technically they could, but no more than that $24,000 for that property for 10 years.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
I think the last one. In the case of a tenant, landlord, who initiates the process, the tenant or the landlord?
We've had both.
for the rehabilitation?
Yes, for rehab, yeah.
We've had both.
Okay.
Yeah, but if a tenant is the one to contact us and get it, obviously then we have to contact the landlord, and they're going to be the ones to make that decision whether they want that deed restriction and the lien on the property. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you both for coming and
Yeah,
giving the
thank you.
presentation, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to, is everybody, we're all good? Moving on to council liaison reports. Sure,
Mac,
sure, go for it.
biggest event last week?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, we heard
I have
about it,
some
but-
more details on the townwide cleaning, because there were some interesting situations. Number one, as Councilman Nathan expressed, 212 is a record, means that people in town are getting more conscious of participating in events like this one, especially the cleaning. There was a science teacher from Farley-Hyson Middle School, and she brought 7th and 8th grader students, 48 in total, which that becomes an educational tool also. They collected 17 bags of trash along Flagler, MLK, and Clyde Potts Drive in the second ward.
I saw them.
Yes, they were very serious about what we're doing. Yeah, what they were doing. Also, there was 54 members of Central Biblical Church, and most of them came as a families with the children. So teaching the children since young age the importance of being involved in community and making their community beautiful. Also, Mia sculpted 6th grade English and religion at Assumption Grammar School. She brought 10 class volunteers. The scavenger hunt was supported, $450 in gifts throughout the 4 wards. The volunteers that work from the environmental commissions did a great job since they don't have enough commissioners. There were donations from Morris Bagels, Smart World Coffee. They donated the breakfast for the volunteers, so we want to thank those businesses for supporting the event. Gift cards were received from Guerrero's Restaurant, South and Pine Restaurant, Willow Street Boutique, Benny's Ice Cream, 23 South Boutique, and Millie's Pizza Meatballs. And my last comment is that I have been speaking for years about how in our community we need educational programs to help people all as community to do better in the way we live and take care of our community. And I think that we need to be more serious about it. And I am an example of that because the reason why we have a great participation from our church is because I teach them that in all levels, children, preteens, teenagers, young, and adults. So, but in the entire community, we need more educational programs so we have a better community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to go now. So my report is from the Shade Tree Commission. The Shade Tree Commission needs volunteers for the following: invasive removal in Jacob Ford Park, Washington statue, as soon as possible. Weeding and preparing the bed in front of Town Hall for a fall planting. We need them as soon as possible. And mulching around park trees. The dates are June 3rd, June 10th, and June 24th. So please volunteer.
I'll go for the Parking Authority. Not much to report, but they do have a lot of openings. So if you know of anybody who's looking for a job, there's no more gatekeeper people. They're phasing that out and going electronic. But there's property management and mechanics and some of the guys, the enforcement officers. So there's a lot of openings. They pay well and they have a lot of really good benefits there. So if anybody's interested or you know somebody who's interested, feel free to apply at the Parking Authority.
Okay, sure. Morristown Partnership met on Wednesday, May 10th, where 2 newly elected board members were welcomed. Michelle Monge from Monge Management LLC, located at 86 South Street, Suite 2A. Mark Von Bradsky from NK Architects Structure Studio, located at 95 Washington Street. The partnership's 2023 operating budget was also presented and is before council tonight for consideration. Some upcoming events include Morristown Farmers Market, which will begin on Sunday, June 18th from 8:30 to 1 p.m. That's located in Lot 10 behind the Morristown Post Office, and it will run through November 20th. Additionally, Meet Me in Morristown is scheduled on July 20th with a rain date of July 21st and August 17th with a rain date of August 18th.
Thank you.
Morristown Parking Authority was supposed to meet last
Housing
night.
Authority?
Housing Authority, sorry for that. About 2 years, but they didn't have a quorum, so
Okay.
the meeting was canceled.
Thank you. And we will move on to regular business now. Margot, ordinance?
Okay, there is one ordinance on the agenda for introduction this evening, and that's ordinance O-14-2023, an ordinance amending and supplementing the code of the town of Morristown, Chapter 7 Traffic, Section 40.2, handicap parking on streets for private residences, to add a dedicated handicap parking space for a resident of King Street.
I will make a motion to introduce ordinance O-14-2023.
I'll second.
Are there any comments or questions? Okay, on the introduction of ordinance O-14-2023, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cotton.
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster.
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Councilman Umbriac.
Yes.
Council President Mayor.
Yes.
Ordinance O-14-2023 has been properly introduced by title and will be considered further after a public hearing on June 13th. There are two ordinances for public hearing and adoption. The first is ordinance O-12-2023, calendar year ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank pursuant to NJSA 48:4-45.14.
I will make a motion to adopt ordinance O-12-2023.
I'll second.
At this time, I'll open the floor for a public hearing on ordinance O-12-2023 only. Okay, hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Any comments or questions from council? Okay, on the adoption of ordinance O-12-2023, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cotton.
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster.
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Councilman Umbriac.
Yes.
Council President Mayor.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Ordinance number O-13-2023, ordinance rescinding an ordinance to delete a designated handicap parking space on Liberty Street from section 7-40.2 of the code of the town of Morristown.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance O-13-2023.
I'll second.
At this time, I'll open the floor for a public hearing on ordinance O-13-2023 only. Being no comments, I'll close the public hearing. Any comments or questions from council? On the adoption of ordinance O-13-2023, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilman Cotton.
Yes.
Councilman Foster.
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Councilman Umbriac.
Yes.
Council President Mayor.
Yes.
Ordinance O-13-2023 is adopted. There are 5 resolutions on the agenda. Would members of council like to pull any for separate consideration?
Take the poll 74, please.
Are there any others?
Let's pull 73, just
I'm sorry, sir?
73.
Okay. With that, I will ask for a motion to adopt resolution numbers 71, 72, and 75-2023.
I'll make a motion to adopt 71, 72, and 75-2023.
I'll second.
Okay, on that motion, Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cotton?
Yes.
Councilman Foster? Councilman Iannacone?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Councilman Umbriac?
Yes.
Council President Mayor.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution number R-73-2023, resolution adopting an affordability assistance and procedures manual.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance O-74-2025. Resolution, sorry, O-74-2023. Say that how many times? Sorry.
73-2023.
I'll second.
Oh, 73, I'm sorry.
Okay. Councilman.
You know, this is complicated, and I know a lot of people have sat with this longer than I have, so we got this on Thursday, I read through it, it was complicated. And actually, what was complicated with it for me was actually the interplay with other regulations, and how does it affect, rent control programs, other subsidy programs, and what have you. That being said, I know your company, and it's done very, very well for the town, and I trust what you have in here. The other piece about this, which I think is excellent, is I do think that this is a program that really the town could benefit tremendously, particularly seniors in our community, that basically will fit into this criteria. And I do trust the fact that what you're saying, because, just my brief reading, is that it is not a desirable program for landlords, and it's going to be one that's more focused on individuals as opposed to landlords in town, because we do have some complexes in town that have been ignored. And they've been ignored by the owners, rather than the owners putting their own money, their own investment back into the rental properties that they've been profiting from over the years. I'm going to vote for this, and I applaud you guys for what you've done putting this program together. It's very good.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Councilman.
Okay, on the adoption.
But I did give a word of caution. And I think everybody knows what it is. Okay.
Educated.
Well, yes, I also
Someone's going to agree with that.
commend administration for this program. It's great. The only thing was the short time to read the manual. That's it. But the rest, so as Councilman Iancón say, we trust you.
Are you
I echo
comfortable
that
voting on
sentiment
it?
as well.
Wait a minute, are you comfortable voting on it or not? 'Cause-
Yes, I am.
Hold on.
Okay.
I think we are.
Yes.
For the record, I've read the manual, so.
He understood every word of it.
Thank you,
Everybody want to put their recommendation before the vote? You're comfortable, you're comfortable, you're
I'm
comfortable?
comfortable now.
Okay, on
Everybody's comfortable with
Yeah,
voting?
thank you.
Okay.
On the adoption of Resolution R-73-2023, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cotton.
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster.
Yes.
Councilman Iancón.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Councilman Umbreak.
Yes.
Council President Mayor.
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution R-74-2023, resolution introducing the 2023 budget of the Morristown Partnership Special Improvement District.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution R-74-2023.
I'll second.
Council
Thank you.
President.
Well, I was hoping Jen was going to be here because I had a couple questions about her budget, because what we get is just basically, we don't ever get the actual numbers, which I asked for a couple times, but I won't hold up the budget for that, but just moving forward, I'm going to ask her ahead of time for, certain budget items, because we don't know any of the actual spending. And I'm also going to be setting up a subcommittee. I discussed with Jillian about a discussion moving forward that we were talking about, and I'm going to ask Bob and Stefan to be on the subcommittee to review the ordinance that she's going to be introducing to us with new Schedule A. So if you'll be joining me on the subcommittee?
Sure.
Okay.
But the budget itself hasn't changed, more or less. It's just a
No.
flat budget, and it doesn't take into consideration any of the changes or proposed changes to the SID, and that's my understanding, just from my
Right. But we-
reading of the material, correct?
Right, but we don't ever get an actual versus budget numbers from previous year, which most people, when you submit a budget, you want approved, you want to see what the spending was. What she gives us is what she plans on
Yeah.
spending or having as income,
That'd
and
be
that's not
something.
really a full picture. But that being said, I can get it from her, and I know she will supply it to me without a problem, so I will move ahead with the vote.
Did you agree, Armington?
Well, if I could just add, you will have that requested information. I will send it to everyone long before the public hearing on June 27th.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay.
This is a resolution.
It's a resolution, so there's no
hearing.
public hearing.
Right.
Yes, there's a public hearing for every budget.
We're adopting.
Wait,
What?
This is for adoption.
That's correct, but there's still a public hearing for budgets. We have a resolution for the municipal budget, but we're still having a public hearing for it on June 13th. We have a resolution for the SID budget, but we have a public hearing for their budget on June 27th.
What are you talking about?
I must have had a bad night last night.
Am I making this?
Because
Is it a public hearing for resolution budget?
It's just a
Yes, every budget requires a public hearing.
Yeah, it's just an introduction.
Yes, this is
So why is
a
this-
resolution introducing that budget. We are required.
Just like you
before adoption.
introduce ours, you're introducing theirs.
But it's up for adoption, so it's
Says
under the wrong
adoption.
category. This should be up for introduction.
It says introduction.
It says introduction on it.
Oh, good.
Resolution for adoption, but it's an introduction. Okay.
Yeah, we're adopting a resolution to introduce it. Yes.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
You got it.
Wish you stepped in a little sooner.
You got it right. You were 100% right.
Correct.
you.
Yes.
Okay. All right, everybody.
You'll distribute it then. Thank you.
Yes, I will. I will get those.
Okay, moving on for the vote.
I got you on it. I got you.
Thank you.
On the adoption of Resolution R-74-2023, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cotton.
yes.
Councilman Foster.
Yes.
Councilman Iancón.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Councilman Umbreak.
Yes.
Council President Mayor.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution is adopted.
Okay, moving on to unfinished old business honorary street naming. Council members Cotton, Iancón, and Silva. Councilwoman Cotton, did you want to speak on this?
Yes, I did. Thank you so much. So because we've worked really hard on this, and we just want to give a brief synopsis of what to expect. So with this ordinance, in creation, we used the Perth Amboy ordinance to help create, we used the language of that, but just shaped it for Morristown, what best fits our, how we want to present this ordinance. So we thought it was very important to have some guidelines and procedures, and we also created a application to go along with this ordinance. And we got that from the city of Wilmington, sorry. And this application will restate the policy, purpose, review process, and criteria for review. And we're just basically waiting now to see if legal had time to read through the ordinance, because we'd like to see it on the agenda next month, or...
Councilwoman, I did get an opportunity, first, the administration had an opportunity to look through it, made some small revisions. I had a chance to review it. I think it looks fabulous. It is ready to go, and if you want to put it on for the next meeting, we'll require a public hearing, obviously because it's an ordinance, but the legal has completed its review and it's ready to go.
Thank you. Good to know.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
No, I just want to say that we invested, each one of us invested time, we did our homework, and we finalized with what has been said, and I think it's time to introduce it, and then we have the public opinion on the adoption, and that's it. And I think it's a very good tool going forward for the future of town. One day, will be one street named Tim Dory Way.
What's interesting is actually, it's not proposing changing the names. No. It's very careful to do that. It's actually proposing to, it's an honorary name. The name of the street doesn't change because, as somebody who did title searches in the past, it's an absolute nightmare when you change names.
It is, I concur, it is a nightmare when you actually change the street name. Correct.
It can really screw a lot of people.
Correct, yeah.
So what
It's a nightmare for all the
this is like an alternative name.
Just, I appreciate the work that the committee did. Just for the rest of the council that wasn't on it, can you share that the draft ordinance with the clerk, and she can distribute it so we get it, before the Friday before? That'd be helpful. Thanks.
Thank you, yes.
Is everybody okay?
Yep.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second?
We are in favor? Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, good night, everybody. Thanks for coming out.